Welcome to Life Extension Live. I'm Dr. Mike, and that is
Dr. Crystal.
there we go. Thanks for joining me today, Dr. Crystal. Hey, how about this statistic, everyone? 12.6% of Americans aged 40 years and older in 2019 had macular degeneration. So, obviously, we're talking about that today, Dr. Crystal. It's a major cause of vision loss, and it deserves a greater awareness. And so, we're asking the question, are you at risk? So, on today's show, what is it? Who's at risk? And how to slow it. Dr. Crystal, what's your initial thoughts about this?
Holy moly. When I saw the age as early as 40, I had to, that was let's put the brakes, double check those numbers, make sure that's right. You typically think of some of these eye concerns, age related. You typically aren't putting the 40-year-olds. I kind of think like maybe 55, 60 or older. So much younger than I anticipated.
Yeah, for sure. And you wonder, in today's world, the lifestyles that we live, the computers, the phone, that kind of stuff, if some of that's playing a role. And hopefully this age doesn't continue to creep down and down and down, right? That's something we definitely don't want. So let's talk about what it is. What is macular degeneration? At the end of the day, let's keep this real simple.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bunch of cells in the back of your eyes that receive light, and it's from that it goes to the brain. The brain says, "Okay, this is what you're looking at," and that's what you see, right?
Yep.
And there's a specific part in the eye where those retinal cells get real concentrated, and that's called a macula. You can see it there on this description, this graphic. And the macula is real concentrated, and it's important for central vision. That's like straight ahead vision, which is key for us humans. And when those retinal cells get damaged, Dr. Crystal, that's what we call macular degeneration, and that's where there's a whole host of visual problems, right? I think that's the take home.
That is the take home, and we can see on this graphic that retina, or that area of the central vision, that's feeding right into that brain, to your brain, your brain.
Your brain.
So you can see that optical nerve is an extension of the brain. And so, yes, we do see that it can cause not only vision issues, but even potentially cognitive issues.
Yep. Now, there are two types of macular degeneration. There's what's called dry, and there's what's called wet. Dry is the most common, and in a way, thank God it's the most common, because wet macular degeneration is more of a vascular issue. It progresses very fast. I mean, you go from early to late stages almost immediately, and it's an emergency. Dry macular degeneration is slower and progresses over time. And so that's why for this show, we're going to be focusing more on the dry macular degeneration, which is a little slow to progress, which gives us a chance to maybe slow that progression. So that's some hope for us. And if you put up that graph again real quick, Robson, you can kind of see it there. Well, maybe you can't, but basically what you see, there's the normal eye. It looks like a sun, and you see kind of off to the right, the little orange, like a little darker orange. That's your macula. In wet macular degeneration, the vascular system is just breaking down. Basically, the vessels are getting destroyed, and that's the dangerous one. The dry one is what we call atrophic. It takes more time. That's what you see on the very far right. So that's wet versus dry, but we're just going to be focusing on dry macular degeneration. So, Dr. Crystal, when it comes to the dry macular degeneration, can you run us through some of the stages, early, mid, late?
Yeah, so the early stage is characterized by the formation of small, they call these yellow deposits. Drusen is what we call
That's
them.
the official. Yep, Drew's it. Yeah.
Yes, under the retina. We kind of saw some of those deposits in the image. So small deposits, intermediate age-related macular degeneration is characterized by the larger drusen or and retinal pigment abnormalities. And then you have the late stage or the advanced, and now you're having um, atrophy. It's You're kind of seeing some of those symptoms characteristic of the wet macular
Mhm.
degeneration. Now you're starting to see that in that late stage dry age related.
Right. I mean, essentially, that you remember when I opened up and described it. You have a bunch of retinal cells in the back of the eye, and there's a section where it's real concentrated, right where that optic nerve comes in, right from the brain, basically. And you're just seeing that section just get destroyed. It gets smaller. It gets smaller. That's what we mean by atrophy. It gets smaller,
Mhm.
and that's going to start affecting your central vision. So a big question then is, who is at risk? We have a whole list of things here, but basically anyone over age 55. But listen, we're finding this in younger people too, as well. That's what scared Dr. Crystal and I when we saw that 2019 stat. We're like, whoa, 40s. But right now, the older you get, that's the higher risk. There's definitely some genes that are involved here, some genetics.
Yes.
Yep, for sure. Do you want to talk about that or
Well,
um
it's something that you can look at your some of the popular genetic tests will give you data on your risk. You do see it runs in families. It runs in my family, it runs in
oh,
my husband's family. So we are very much aware and following some of the lifestyle approaches to try to at least delay the
yeah,
onset.
right. Smokers. And we'll get into and when we talk about what's like the pathology behind this, you'll understand why smoking is definitely a risk factor. If you're not eating enough antioxidants, Dr. Crystal, polyphenols, right?
That's right. Those pigmented antioxidants, because
Right.
remember that macula is densely pigmented with antioxidants.
So you got to make sure you get that. And again, we'll be talking about that coming up. Just being Caucasian, obese, people with cardiovascular disease, and then people living with air pollution, which is most of us, right? So it kind of includes
Unfortunately.
all of us, unfortunately. And those are some of your basic risk factors. But what's really driving this, Dr. Crystal? What are we? What's the, as we like to say
Yeah.
in medicine, what's the pathology that's really going
Hmm.
on?
Oxidative stress. That's I would say involved with most chronic
Well, yeah, it's involved with most
age-related
diseases.
diseases.
Yeah, yeah.
This is kind of the buildup of free radical damage over time. The body's just antioxidant capacity is not robust enough to clean up and to neutralize those free radicals that's produced from UV radiation, from the exposure to pollution, from the carcinogens that we ingest, especially if you smoke. And so those are all involved with causing oxidative stress,
Yeah.
vascular issues. And again, of course, the genetic component
Right. Yeah.
is a factor.
And like most diseases, it's important to understand that it's multifactorial. It's not just oxidative stress. It's the genetics. There's some vascular issues. It's kind of you have to put it all together, and that's when you start seeing the development, and it makes those risk factors. It helps you to understand those risk factors
Mhm.
better. So let's so that's what it is. The macula, dense region in the eye of all these retinal cells, gives you central vision. Oxidative stress, genetics, vascular issues start to damage that, and we start having symptoms, right? Let's run through some of those symptoms, because you already mentioned there's early, there's mid, there's late. Let's talk about what it looks like, what's going on symptom-wise in each one of those stages. So let's go ahead and start with early.
So early, generally speaking, no symptoms. You may start noticing a change in your visibility when light is dimmer. So that could be, in the evening times. But that would be sort of those early changes. Mid changes, visual, or kind of mid stage, you're starting to see some changes with your central vision.
Right. Maybe it's starting to get a little blurry, a little cloudy, right? Right. And then late, you lost the central vision.
Right, but you're not blind.
You're not blind. That's important. Yeah, that's important. You're not blind, but you've lost a lot. Your periphery. That's what's funny about. And here's a picture of it. Oh, this is great, Robson. Thank you. So you got normal vision to the right. You can see the central vision, the two dogs running in grass. But the macular degeneration wipes out that central vision. You can still see in your periphery, right? But it's that central spot that can be where you've lost your vision. It's not a cause of total blindness. However, you've lost central vision, which can be really rough on the quality of life, Dr. Crystal.
Yes, and I'm happy you clarified. You're not totally blind, but it will lead to being legally blind. You're having trouble kind of recognizing faces, of course, reading things straight ahead of you. So, it would be a cause of disability.
Right. Well, that's why, we, Dr. Crystal and I, when we do these shows, we have a whole team that helps us set up all of these stats and facts and stuff. And we really do try to stay, what's going on? What's the trending questions? What are people really asking? And Dr. Crystal, online, when you look at macular degeneration, just like on Google, one of the most common questions people are asking is, can I live a normal life with macular degeneration? Well, it's tough to answer, but what would you say?
Well, it's if it progresses and you are legally blind, that's a loaded question, because yes, you will have to have some accommodations due to the inability to drive, for example. So when you say a normal life, that's tough. It would be not normal to the average person, but you can still have accommodations to allow you to enjoy life.
It's good. Things, if you're at that stage, things have changed. We just we have to accept that. But there are things that you can do to adjust. But here's one of our big points. Again, we're talking about the dry macular degeneration. It develops more slowly, which means there's opportunity to maybe slow this progression and not get to that point. Dr. Crystal, as a clinician, I wasn't an eye doctor. I was a radiologist, as you know, but I also spent some time in internal medicine. And I did see, some people with macular degeneration, the dry form, and one of the in late stages as well. And in the late stage patients, one of the most common things they told me was it's irritating because you can't. It's like you're blurred right in the middle. You can't look at somebody and you can't see them. It's like you have to turn and you have to put them on your periphery. There's all this kind of stuff they have to do to try to adjust. So I totally get it, but they do learn. But let's not get there. Let's make it a real slow process.
That's right.
Right to get there. So how do we slow macular degeneration, the dry form? And let's start with lifestyle suggestions. What do you
Right.
think?
It goes back to those risk factors. Don't smoke. Don't start. If you are a smoker, there are lots of programs that can help you to stop.
Right. Yeah.
And so we know that is a risk factor.
Oxidative stress, right? That's the link there, for the most part. Okay.
So there's oxidative stress, and then you're combating oxidative stress, which would be my next point, by making sure you're eating the rainbow. I say it all the time, Dr. Mike. I feel like a broken record, but I can't emphasize it enough. And that rainbow starts at breakfast.
It should be every meal, right?
It should be every meal, but I just feel compelled to talk about breakfast right now because we feel like, greens and carrots, and that we have these foods that we think are foods for lunch, foods for dinner.
You
And
compartmentalize them, right? Like
we do.
Yeah.
And a good hearty soup is a great breakfast.
Yeah.
Vegetable soup, so find ways to get those veggies and get the rainbow in.
Can I share something about breakfast?
Sure.
I still listen. I enjoy a nice egg in the morning, a little fried egg, lightly fried. I do like putting that on a nice, whole grain piece of toast. But one of the things I've learned is adding like some herbs and stuff to that. And there's you can add parsley, you can and it actually makes it taste better. It's a better sandwich in the morning.
Yes.
That's adding some color, right?
Absolutely. Every little bit counts, Dr. Mike.
So gotta eat the rainbow Mediterranean diet. That's of course our favorite, right? And listen, remember the 80-20 rule. If you follow us, 80% of that plate, whether it doesn't matter what meal it is, plant-based, 20% animal-based. What other things can we suggest?
Exercising regularly. Physical activity is going to help to slow the progression, maintaining your body weight, healthy at your weight, one's height based on your let me backtrack that.
Okay.
Maintaining a healthy body composition. I'm trying to make sure we're sending the right message, Dr. Mike.
Right.
So a healthy body composition and maintaining healthy blood pressure, as well as protecting your eyes, protecting the macula externally through sunglasses, hats.
Yes.
Blue light blockers.
Where's your blue light blockers? The ones I love, the ones that are this big on your face.
Oh yeah, they're over on the nightstand.
That stuff, that's all important. Especially, I mean, the what's normal in life now is to be staring at blue light stuff. That's what we do, right? I mean,
yes.
Work, home, whatever. Protect your eyes from that kind of stuff, and also. About 2 hours before bedtime, turn it off.
That's right.
Get a good night's sleep too.
Yeah.
That's always important. You mentioned we got to eat the rainbow stuff like that. So let's talk about that. The colors, specifically for the eyes, polyphenols that will get into the eyes. What kind of colors are we looking for in food?
Green is my top. And most people think orange and yellow because these are foods that are providing carotenoid antioxidants, but the green bell pepper is one of the highest sources of lutein, one of your beneficial carotenoids. So I like the green, the red, the orange, the yellow. That you ever seen the variety pack of those mini bell peppers, like the orange and the red?
Love them.
God. Keep them around the house. They are great on top of salads.
Yes.
They are great sauteed with anything.
I like to like lightly oven roast them a little bit. Yeah, you add some olive oil on it. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, so those are, I mean, these are things that you can just make it a staple on always on your shopping list. Always keep them around the house. Parsley, as you mentioned, Dr. Mike, that's green.
Woo-hoo.
Broccoli, kale, spinach. Many people think of those colors as or those foods as providing kind of magnesium and B vitamins, but they are giving you those carotenoid pigments that have an affinity to the retina, or that the macula, which is that pigmented part of the retina.
Yeah, they'll concentrate there. Those polyphenols will concentrate there, and it's so important to keep that up. Obviously, omega oils, fish, very important. Nuts, very important. And overall, we've just, again, it goes back to the Mediterranean diet. As a matter of fact, in a study, the Mediterranean diet was shown to delay dry macular degeneration. There you go. All right. Little other things though besides diet to avoid, like I think, what about sunlight exposure and blue light, right? We got to limit that. We
have to, you can't avoid it. So when we say that a strategy, if you wear glasses, invest in transition glasses.
Makes sense.
That will automatically darken. In your cars, invest in tinted windows. I know it sounds so simple.
Yeah.
But
sunglasses, stuff like that,
Yes, but and in general, and I would say this, I would go as far to say, protect your children's eyes as well. They make all these fancy sunglasses for adults, but invest in nice sunglasses for your children, as well as your furry children as well.
Oh,
Dr. Mike. Yeah, Charlie needs sunglasses.
He's right behind me right now. I don't know.
Do you have sunglasses for Charlie?
I don't. I got his little booties because it's hot out there for his feet, or his paws. So I'll have to think about what do you think about that, Charlie? Oh, he's sleeping. Don't worry about it. So yeah, obviously avoid the blue light as much as you can. I'm serious when I say at some point you got to turn that stuff off. You do every day. Have a break. Have a blue light break.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Stop smoking. Solid weight, regular exercise, all that kind of stuff can all be important. But let's move now into nutritional add-ons. It's a common question also on Google, like what are the best nutritional add-ons or add-ins? How do we say it? Add-ins that can help, again, slowing that progression. So we have a whole list of nutrients we're going to talk about, but I want to say something about these nutrients, and it's good news. All of these nutrients have been studied on the conventional side of things in a couple of large studies, age-related eye disease studies. And so there's good research behind all of this, Dr. Crystal. And so let's go ahead and start with one of the first ones in these large studies, vitamin C. Vitamin C. So simple.
We know that vitamin C, it's probably hands down, one of the most popular antioxidants in healthy eyes. Is found in high concentrations. In the eyes of age-related macular degeneration patients, there are diminished quantities of vitamin C. So we see that association. We know vitamin C aids in the production of our grandfather antioxidant.
Is that how we're saying it now? Is that how we're saying it?
I don't know. Glutathione.
It's a big one. It's a biggie. How about that? For sure. Yeah.
The master antioxidant in the body. Vitamin C is needed for that. It absorbs UV radiation.
That
So
was
again,
something
as
new I
we
learned. That was
right.
something new for me. Yeah.
So, we mentioned protecting your eyes from the sun. Obviously, the sunglasses is a physical barrier, but these antioxidants can be an internal protective barrier.
Yeah, that's it. And again, it's so simple. It's vitamins. It's the It's so nice. It's just so easy. It's safe.
Hmm.
It's all that kind of stuff. As far as dose goes, I know that. So you have, remember, and I think this is we can real quick little tangent. There's like the recommended daily intake of these vitamins and stuff, and then there's what Dr. Crystal and I believe is more optimal stuff. I think the recommended daily intake of vitamin C is something like 100. Is it 100
No,
milligrams?
it's not quite 100. It's about 90. I don't
90?
know why I'm thinking 60, but I feel like it's 90 for adults.
Okay, it's low. That's low. I personally take extra vitamin C, and I'm up close to about 2,000 milligrams a day. So just watch. Don't you think dose is important here?
I think so. I mean, there is the dose for supporting the overall healthy population, which is going to be your
Yeah.
recommended daily allowance, and then there is the dose for optimization, the dose that is helping to boost immunity, that's kind of giving you that edge, that's helping to mitigate some of the risks that may exist from your genes, from your environment,
Yeah.
so
All
there's
right.
a
Good.
difference there, right? And so I like the 500 up to 2,000 milligrams is a nice dose.
Yeah, yeah. If you're at those doses, I do think it's better to split them. Like 500 milligrams, your body can handle and absorb well. You get too much of that in one take, it's hard for the body to absorb. So splitting that up, if you're going to do more like 500, something like that, is a good way to do it. So that's vitamin C. I mean, love it, fantastic. And then part of this larger study that showed benefit in slowing progression is vitamin E. Another simple thing.
Another simple thing, I always talk about food. We didn't talk about food with vitamin C, but that bell pepper give you some vitamin C as well. Those
It
peppers,
will, yeah. Well, a
vitamin
lot of
E.
people don't. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Chris. So a lot of leafy greens have vitamin C too, as well,
Yeah,
like
broccoli,
kale and stuff.
one of
Broccoli,
the
yeah,
best sources
yeah,
of vitamin C. And then when we look at vitamin E, that's going to be kind of your nut oils.
yeah,
So eating seeds and nuts. And we know that the vitamin E is going to help to target that oxidative stress and some of the underlying, one of the underlying causes or risk factors
yeah.
for macular degeneration. So eat your nuts.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. My favorite, pistachios.
Oh,
I didn't tell you that.
I feel like I knew that, but
By far, by far. And you don't you can eat them raw, whatever, but they also make a great crust for like fish if you want to
oh
like pan
yes,
fry a
yes,
little bit. It's a
yes.
healthier way of doing that. Oh, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I was thinking it was macadamia nuts, but hey, I like a good
Oh no! Oh my
pistachio as
gosh!
well.
Wait, you're right. That's my favorite.
That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking
you're
when you said
right.
that. I was like, I
You're
thought
right.
he liked macadamia nuts.
It is macadamia nuts by far my favorite. Pistachios, because they're a lot less calories. Up is my second choice, and they're second in line. You're right. Macadamia nuts, man. Those.
And I like
Woo.
the walnut. I like pecans.
Yes.
Those are my two favorite.
Yeah.
But
You
yes,
mean pecans,
consuming those
but that's
nuts.
fine. Yeah. Pecans. They're not cans of peas. Anyways, so next up in these large studies are what I believe are the workhorses of eye health, period. And that's the carotenoids. These include lutein, zeaxanthin, mesozeaxanthin. These are those pigmented antioxidants that love to sit right there in the
Yep.
macula, and they're just like fighting oxidative stress. right?
And they accumulate. Now, when again, since we can follow our trends, some good foods, it's going to be your trout, sardines,
Oh,
salmon.
oh.
They are going to give you those carotenoid antioxidants, but you also again will get them in those colorful vegetables. And I love the lutein zeaxanthin. They're very popular. Mesozeaxanthin, not so much. That's one that's made in the eyes from lutein.
Right. That's part of the conversion, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, when you're thinking of strategies to kind of put yourself, take it to the next level, especially to reduce your risk, then you may want to consider adding in the mesozeaxanthin form so that you don't have to think about the conversion that has to happen.
Yep. When I was a kid, we ate a lot of trout because it was full. It was heavy in Lake Houston.
Mm.
And there are parts that you could fish it. There were parts of Lake Houston you didn't want to touch any of that, but there were other parts that, especially further away from the city, right? But I haven't had trout in a long time. What about you?
I have all kinds of fish all the time because my dad and my brother and even my husband. I mean, I am surrounded by fishermen.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's right. You told me your dad was a big fisherman, right?
Oh
yeah.
Yes, he's a popular guy.
That's great.
In Savannah, Georgia, for fishing. Straw Hat. If he's listening, that's what
Straw Hat.
Yeah. Straw Hat.
Well, speaking of fish, trout, salmon, sardines, listen, omega-3 fish oil. Yeah, right. I mean, come on. Now, one thing we got to be clear. In these larger studies, they did add fish oil to like this group of nutrients which we just did. And adding the fish oil didn't seem to add a lot of protection. But there are other studies that do show fish oils to be quite protective of the eyes, right?
That's right. And we're talking again, the tuna, the salmon, the mackerel, as well as those plant sources of omega-3. So I want to kind of broaden that definition to omega-3s. We know that a meta-analysis found that patients with the high dietary intake of omega-3 fats had a 38% lower risk of late or that more advanced age-related macular degeneration. And that same association or was observed between eating fish 2 times a week and having reduced risk of early and late. So eating the fish or consuming those plant sources of omega-3s, consider some add-ins of omega-3 fatty acids as well.
Yeah. Anchovies. Oh, come on now. That's fantastic stuff. Eat some anchovy. Well, people don't know this. There's 2 types of anchovies, right? There's your basic anchovy that's very salty. You know what I'm talking about. They're called brown anchovies.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. But then there's white. If that's too strong for you, there's white anchovies that don't have that strong. They're both good. They're both loaded with omegas. So you have choices.
And the white ones are really good. It kind of, especially with a nice some lemon juice.
I love when we talk about food. I get so hungry. I start going off in my own. All right, let's wrap
omega-3s.
Omega-3s. Other things to consider. Not going to go through the details. Saffron, wonderful. That color in there, that red color. When you see something like that, colored like that, you got to think there's pigmented antioxidants in that.
That's right.
Right. Melatonin. Who would have thought? Well, melatonin acts right in the brain.
That's
right
true.
Down the optic nerve, right? And then CoQ10, one of our favorites.
Antioxidant.
Huge antioxidant.
Yes.
We forget that, don't we? People talk about CoQ10 a lot for its energy, that's critical. But by itself, it's a powerful antioxidant.
Yes.
There you go. Woo! That was a lot of stuff.
Protect those eyes.
You got to take notes and stuff. Yeah, for sure. So this is the good news. Macular degeneration, it happens. You know the risk factors. A little concerned that it's happening a little younger. Could that be all the blue light stuff? We don't know. But there are things you can do to slow down the progress. Exercise, dietary, Mediterranean diet, and nutrient add-ins can be very powerful in keeping it at bay and keeping it in a slow progression. If you want to learn more, when I say that, Life Extension is our articles, our protocols, our blogs. They go into it so much more, the details of the science. Oh, there it is right there. Yes. lifeextension.com/eyes. And you can even, like right now, take your camera out. Look at that. Take a picture. The QR code. They'll take it right there. And it's a macular degeneration protocol. It is full of great information. And by the way, Life Extension, because you guys are a great audience, they want to say thank you. So when you're at lifeextension.com, go ahead and shop. Get your order in. Get to the cart level, and all you got to do is put in LE Live, and there you can see it on the screen. LE Live, and you'll get 10% off, $50 or more, plus free shipping and handling. Don't forget, we go live every Wednesday, 12 noon. We love doing this. A lot of great topics. Wherever you watch us, you gotta follow. You gotta subscribe. Please like and share. Get this information out. We really think that this could be helpful to a lot of people, and we get excited when we see people sharing stuff, right, Dr. Chris?
That's right. Like, we do.
Yeah. So don't forget, that's every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern time. I'm Dr. Mike. That is
Dr. Crystal.
We'll see you next Wednesday.